Welcome to Therapeutic Intentions Podcast. My name is Stephanie Dingbaum. I am a mental health therapist, and I am so passionate about all things health and wellness, personal development, and empowering others to be their most authentic and best versions of themselves. Here at Therapeutic Intentions, we are all about having intentional and authentic conversations on whole body health, healing practices, mindset, and ways to uplevel your life so you can truly be the best version of you. If you are a woman, a mom, hope to someday be a mom, a healer, or just in a place where you want to start prioritizing yourself and your health, then this podcast is for you. I am so glad you're here. If you're ready, let's get to it. Welcome back, everyone. This is Therapeutic Intentions Podcast with Stephanie Dingbaum, and we have Hilary and I with us. We're talking about just all things spiritual health and wellness and growth and up-leveling, being your best version of yourself, and all that goes with that in the realm of spirituality. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. Hilary has come into my life in this last year, and I just felt really drawn to her services, and I believe she has just this really beautiful gift that she's been given. And when she got the download to come onto my podcast and do a mini series with me, it just made perfect sense. Going into fall, it's spooky season, it's officially here, summer has ended, and today we are going to dive into, I think, a really juicy topic. I am here for it. Talking about the suppressed feminine, doing the shadow work around that. I'm going to let Hilary take the lead on this discussion today, but I'm here for it. So wherever you want to start, Hilary, just dive in.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephanie. So excited to be back for another episode. And when we're talking about different spiritual topic ideas, this kind of premise of the suppressed feminine, the shadow, was one of them that was really wanting to come forth. So I guess maybe I'll start talking a little bit about shadow work. Maybe some of your listeners have heard that before. Yeah. And it's definitely not for the faint of heart, right? Because when we want to think about shadow, what we're really thinking about is the repressed parts of self, the hidden parts of self, the truths of self that we know on a subconscious level or even conscious level that yet we're afraid to put out into the world. But it's really, really important to do shadow work because that's really when you come into that deep feminine wisdom, that true intuition, knowing, and power. And I like to talk about shadow work actually in two different realms. I think maybe you came to the one class I had a few weeks back where I really touched on the golden shadow. Yeah. So for those that may be familiar with the shadow work territory, they're sort of like, well, yeah, okay, I understand shadow work. It's maybe negative. Like it kind of gets a negative rap. It's the bad things, the bad stuff I want to do, you know, but there's also really, we can think about it too in the respect of the golden shadow. And the golden shadow is just that it's the actual light in me that I'm repressing and I'm not shining for fear of, judgment from somebody else or hurting somebody else's feelings or being too powerful, too much woman. So I think women really have deep shadow work to do because so much of our lives we've spent being less than.
Well, yeah.
Keeping ourselves little, small.
That's our society, though. I mean, we're in a primarily masculine society. I mean, it's primarily ran by masculinity. And so that makes sense that we have to do more of that work.
Mm-hmm. So as we're recording this podcast today, it's going to air at a later date, but we're coming up on a new moon in Virgo here in a few days. And I was telling Stephanie before we started recording about how there's a lot of feminine energy at play along with this new moon. And I always feel like when you're ever listening to a podcast, and Stephanie, and we've talked about that before, when you told your story about your accident, I didn't listen to that episode when it came right out. I listened to it maybe a month down the road. But whenever you are listening to something and absorbing that information, always know that that's divine timing of when you're meant to hear it and receive the message. So while it's not going to be the new moon in Virgo when you hear this, the message is still going to resonate for you and speak to you really at a soul level. So there's a lot of feminine power at play in terms of just really that like highly divine expression of the feminine self. So, and really stepping into this like fight for this greater awakening of love. We talked a lot about unconditional love and that religion versus kind of spirituality episode. And we're kind of crumbling the old world and stepping into the new world. And that comes with this really great fight for this greater awakening of love in ourselves and in the collective. And the feminine energy as an energy, not necessarily as a sex, right? It allows us to find our way into that light.
This resonates with me so much right now. It's like before we hit record, when you were talking, I wrote down, what do I need to get rid of? That's a part of the old me to make room for the new me. And it resonates so much because I keep going back to like, this is my glow up era. Like, this is my time to shine. I mean, it makes complete sense because of coming off of all the excitement of the Powerhouse Women Conference, but I am like, I'm not letting go of that energy. I'm not letting myself step down from that high because, well, there's so many reasons, but even what you're saying, how we tend to like make ourselves small, for example, like I feel like I always want to get dressed up when we go out and I always want to like wear my dresses and I'm very much a girly girl. And we, in our group of friends, like nobody usually wants to get dressed up. And so then I'm like, oh, I guess I won't then, and it's like, I'm embracing, and I told my husband this last night. So it's so many synchronicities here. I told my husband last night that just so you know, like I actually, it was one of our more like authentic conversations about this, but I was like, just so you know, like, I know I've told you this, but I'm stepping into my glow up era. And so I'm no longer like, I'm just going to get used to being the dressed up one in the room from now on. And I want you to know that because often we try to coordinate our outfits. So we just like to do that. And I'm like, I just want you to know that because like, you don't always want to get dressed up and
you're going to have to glow up.
Yeah, you might have to as well, but it's also okay if you don't want to get dressed up, but just know like, I'm accepting that I'm going to be the dressed up one in the room from now on. And so what you're saying, I'm like, oh yeah, this with the new moon, like this makes complete sense in my life right now.
Well, I love that you're in your glow up era. Also, those of you who can't see, Stephanie and I can see each other right now. Yeah, she looks beautiful. She's got her hair curls. She just had her color analysis done. She's got her lip on. She's got jewelry. And I even said to her, I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen you with your hair curls. But, that's just it. Like our outward expression of, well, you said that the other day when you're like talking about your fertility journey and I'm going to act as if, right? Yep. I'm going to act as if I'm the mom with a baby in my belly. And, I posted something on the business page last night where it was this card deck that I love, but it's like the card I drew was you are a product of what you believe. And that's kind of along that same lines. And so if I want to be a fully expressed woman, fully in my sexual power and liberation in it, I may express that through the way I dress, what I wear, how I wear it. And I have the right to do so and to be that person in the room and to take up space in the room, right? Because again, so much of the time we step into a room and as women, we're so judged of too much or not enough or this or that. And when you finally come into that power center, you can step into a room authentically and own how you look, dress, and feel.
Yeah. And it doesn't, you can work against, like you can combat the suppressed feminine in other ways too. Like it doesn't just have to be in your outward. look. I mean, I very much, like I said, I'm a girly girl, and so I'm here for the fashion, I'm here for the jewelry, the accessories, all the things. But I also think in terms of like opening up your throat chakra, like this is our time as women to speak the fuck up, right? So that was part of why I started the podcast. It's like, no longer are the days where I'm going to be the quiet, suppressed one in the room. Like, I've got a voice, I've got things I want to say, you're going to hear it now. But I think for all women, like, and it doesn't mean you have to go out and start your own podcast, but it's like, you don't have to hold back. It's okay to have an opinion. It's okay to have your voice heard. I mean, I don't think we hear that enough. You would think like, oh, we've come so far from back in the day when women couldn't vote. And it's like, yeah, in some ways, but in some ways we are not that far, you know? So
absolutely. And in some ways we're like going back. So that old world versus new world, and how are we going to restructure and, you know, crumble and go forward in a way that is that unconditional love and compassion energy. So, you know, one thing I want to maybe touch on then to weave in that is, this is from sort of a workshop class I did with a woman named Sabrina Lynn. She has a podcast, YouTube, this, that, all the things, called Rewilding for Women. She's very radical, kind of in your face. She can be intense. I mean, it is not for, you know, if you're really wanting to dive into dark goddess work, shadow work, feminine work, she's very, very much, I think, a leader in that knowledge. But one of the things that I had done with her was this workshop on the 6 faces of the feminine. And these are often the 6 faces that are repressed parts of self that are in us, ready to be seen, to come out. And they might be repressed for different reasons, right? It can, we've touched on some of that, karmic past life, ancestral, etc. And it could just be things from this lifetime, and woundings and beliefs and self-limiting beliefs, all that. So I'm going to kind of just list those, I think, really quick for your listeners, just to see maybe if one resonates over another. But just, I think it might be just a powerful little tool for their toolkit to sit and work with.
I agree. I'm here for it.
So the first one that I'm going to touch on is the medicine woman. And Hecate as a dark goddess, or Cheroklo, are examples of a medicine woman. She's often depicted as that crone, that wise woman. And the medicine woman has a lot of shamanic capacities and awakens the ability to see between the seen and the unseen. So you can see where that would be real repressed, right?
Yeah.
Hello, I can relate to that one. But the medicine woman just understands the cycles of life, the natural cycles of life. And, you know, if we're not in rhythm with that, when we're not in right relationship with that, she helps bring our bodies back into that right relationship, into those natural cycles of life. It's a lot of womb wisdom, a lot of women's work, a lot of, you know, healer types, you know, you can think about midwives, etc. They're the medicine women, you know, they work deeply within that womb healing. And
it's funny because I immediately think of 2 healers that work in the same office as I do. They embody this in such a strong way. Like, it is not suppressed in them.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and I feel like as you're talking about this, I'm like, oh yeah, that's them, like, to a T. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, think about that as I'm kind of speaking. Yeah, who in your life represents this? And if they come to mind to you, then maybe it's a question of, how can I embody more of their qualities that I like, you know, or what about, again, when we talk about that mirroring, well, what about them do I like? And actually, do I have that within me? I just don't see it in self, but really they're mirroring me. And if I like those aspects of self and I see that powerful parts of them, I too have that in me. So not only do our mirrors in life, we've talked about that maybe from the shadow or the negative side in the past episodes, but there's also that positive spin to that, you know. So think about that too as we go along. The second one that I'll touch on here is the Great Mother. So that can be like Mother Mary, Durga, Gaia, and that's just right there, unconditional love. And, we think about Mother Mary and the great, all that. It's just such unconditional love and compassion, releasing us from absorbed conditions from our mother, right? So we can talk a lot about people that have the daddy issues, but I can tell you I'm swimming in women with mother wounds, and we can work with the great mother to heal mother wounds. So I think, Stephanie, in your session, I take people down a lot to connect with Mother Earth, with Gaia, because she is the mother. And so whether you have issues with your own mother and that, we truly always are not alone, and that we can connect with the energy of unconditional love and compassion. And that comes from Gaia, from Mother Earth.
I feel like I work with so many clients who, like, this is suppressed in so many of us, but that's a majority of my female clients is.
Yeah. So Great Mother, again, works with like the mother wound, the sister wound, and flushing the ancestral lines, birth traumas, because I do a lot of healing around that, around birth itself. How we come into this life is it is a trauma in itself, that comes back to like, okay, let's rewrite this birth story. The Great Mother works a lot with soul retrieval and rebirth, and just really the capacity to birth life, creations, projects, and it doesn't always have to be babies.
Right.
Have you ever taken a medication that didn't come with a side effect or two? Yeah, me neither. In year 2 of my fertility journey, I got fed up with the medications that were being recommended for me because they all seemed to come with their fair share of side effects on both my physical and mental health. I then decided to take my health into my own hands, and I set up an intake with an integrative health practitioner. I wanted someone who could help me get to the underlying root cause of everything. I refused to accept the diagnosis of infertility because I knew there was something more going on than what the Western medicine practitioners were catching. Switching my healthcare to the integrative health world was actually the best decision I ever made in the 6 years that we've been going through our own fertility journey. I finally felt I had more control over my health choices, and I felt like I was actually being listened to and heard more. The integrative health world then opened my eyes to Earthly Wellness, which is a company that believes individuals should be empowered to make their own informed health choices. Earthly Wellness is such an amazing company in my mind. They produce herbal remedies and body care products that support health naturally. This meant finally no side effects. Products with actual clean, non-toxic ingredients that won't harm my body or cause other symptoms to flare up. Products that have ingredients in them that I actually recognize and I can pronounce too. At first, I just tried their Good Night Lotion and Immune Aid vitamin C capsules. Then I eventually got into using 1 or 2 of their tinctures that they offer as well. I have had a good experience with literally every single product that I've ever tried from Earthly. They make me feel great, and they've been extremely beneficial for me through this fertility journey. I'm not the only person that speaks highly of Earthly either. Listen to these testimonials from other individuals who have seen success from using Earthly's products. One says, "My sleep has improved a ton since using the gut health oil from Earthly. I started using it at the beginning of April, and almost 2 months later, my sleep has sustained." Another one says, "My menstrual cycle has been off for years, and the only supplement I've added has been the gut health oil. And since starting that, my menstrual cycle has been more regular." Amazing testimonies, you guys. If you're looking for a natural, non-toxic product that can benefit both your physical and your mental health, look no further, because Earthly is a trusted company that can truly support your health needs. Earthly has a variety of products for all ages as well. Besides body care products and herbal remedies, they also carry vitamins, minerals, cleaning products, baby products, and skincare products. It's truly a one-stop shop. So, if you're looking for clean and safe products to use around the home, on yourself, as well as for your kids, go to the link in my show notes and see what Earthly has to offer. I wouldn't be recommending a company that I myself didn't strongly support and believe in personally. Another great benefit about Earthly is their prices are affordable as well. People often complain that the downside of seeing an integrative health practitioner is that you have to pay for those services out of pocket. My pushback to that is you could be spending that money on Western medicine procedures, medication, more medication to fix the side effects from the initial medication, doctor's visits, etc. You have to look at your health like it's an investment. And all of these things are a part of that investment. So you're spending less in the long run, really. Another amazing benefit of ordering through Earthly is that all of their products are completely clean and non-toxic, which means they have absolutely no parabens, no phthalates, no fragrance, no preservatives, no allergens such as corn, soy, gluten, dairy, or nuts, no junk at all, you guys. And if you are like me and you're trying to rid your home of toxic products, then Earthly is your go-to place to shop. In today's world, our society normalizes living with certain symptoms, and I just think it's ridiculous. It does not have to be normal to deal with overactive thyroids. It doesn't have to be normal to deal with unbalanced hormones. It doesn't have to be normal to have heavy and painful periods. It doesn't have to be normal to deal with daily bloating. These are all symptoms, and there is an underlying root cause to all of it. Earthly has products to support not only those symptoms, but also the root cause of it all. Be honest, wouldn't you love to kick one or two symptoms that you deal with daily? As a mental health therapist in a small rural county in eastern Iowa, I recommend Earthly products constantly to clients. I always suggest trying something holistic before using medication or something that the body can become addicted to. That way you don't have to worry about experiencing any side effects as a result of using that product. If what you're hearing resonates with you and you want to try out an Earthly product for yourself, go into my show notes for today's podcast episode. I will have my affiliate marketing link in the notes for you. Also, for a limited time, if you're a first-time user of Earthly products, you can get a discount using code all caps Choose Natural to get a 10% discount off your order. Again, the code is Choose Natural in all caps. If you are a returning customer of Earthly's and you would also like a discount, I'm offering for a limited time only the code COMEBACK to also get a 10% discount off your order. Again, that code in all caps is COMEBACK, COMEBACK. Improve your sleep today, you guys, and feel better mentally, physically, and emotionally. Seriously, consider making Earthly Wellness a part of your health journey today. All links will be in my show notes for today's episode.
So the third phase that I'll touch on is the mystic. So that is sort of the highest truth, the spiritual wisdom, the things beyond words, right? The esoteric, the things that we maybe can't always put the words to. The miracles, the synchronicities. It really opens a channel to serve from a place of love and light and brings our soul in. And really just spirit and matter and birthing this and working with the grace floods. It's just, again, it's definitely the more woo or esoteric of them all, the harder one to understand because it comes with really great trust and just the believing and the knowing.
I feel like I try to embody this one so often in practice. Mm-hmm. Like this one speaks to me.
Mm-hmm. So the next one is the warrior. You know, we don't always think of women as warriors as much as we should, but they are. And it takes great strength to stand in our truth. Mm-hmm. So again, looking at those women that you know that are not afraid to stand in their truth. That warrior gives us the grounding and the backbone to be a warrior of truth. You know, again, that's, like you said, the throat chakra or the expression or the words or the writing or the career, whatever it might be. But it's the courage to be seen and to speak. And so many women hide that warrior self so deep. And it's the courage to embody the fullness of the feminine, life expressing life. that, not letting the opinions of others stop me. So strong boundaries, structural integrity, and autonomy. So yeah, I love the warrior energy. I love it.
Mm-hmm. I think of a few people in my circle that definitely embody that. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's interesting. Okay.
So then the next one is the lover. And the lover just takes everything in, receives the fullness of life, like she drinks it in to become the full expression of it. And that to me is just very much, I feel that when I say that, like my body wants to move in waves. It wants to like flow with that Kundalini energy, but it's very much the receiving and the creative energy. So we can kind of cut this off or shut this off in terms of sexuality and sexual expression, right? So again, coming into that right relationship with our bodies. So we're not objects, so it's not from a place of objectivity, right, but rather a place of sacredness, of sacred sexuality, the sacred union, that divination with the masculine or the feminine. It's that fountain of youth. It's kind of that like, let beauty be seen. Life is like juicy. Life is beautiful. And so again, when we have a right relationship with the lover in us, we're not using that as a way to objectify the other sex or to be in control over, but rather to be in sacred union with. And we can balance that within the masculine and the feminine parts of self too. So it shifts our relationship with sensuality, like out of shame to pleasure, to loving every part of my body, to being in just divine union with self and the world. And then the final one, which is kind of what brought us to maybe this whole conversation, discussion on that to begin with, is the dark goddess. Okay. And that's representative of women like Medusa, Persephone, Lilith, Kali, and they're the most hidden and the most wild. But they are the most liberating because they remove the obstacles that prevent us from stepping into our everything, our allness. Like,
So they're the ones that help remove our shadow selves.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep, there is nowhere a dark goddess can't go. They're going to go into the ancestral. They're going to go into the karma. They're going to go into the unconscious places. They're going to go into the underworld. Okay. They're going to go into that golden shadow. They're going to show you what you're capable of. And sometimes that means burning it all down first.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So it's just this like ruthless demanding of the truth. Like the ego slayer to liberate you. You don't get to hide because you're not supposed to hide. And you aren't just a good girl. You're a queen, and I'm going to show you you're a queen. Mm-hmm. And you'll know when they're ready for you. So I was laughing because I was telling Stephanie, I was like, did this meditation the other day, and Medusa, I was like dressed in this like green dress with gold snake jewelry, and all of a sudden I was like Medusa. And then I started reading on the energy that's coming up with this new moon, and it's like, oh, well, Medusa's conjunct the new moon. I was like, oh, okay, I guess Medusa would like me to do some work with her, So we might start to hear their names, see their names, read about them, see, symbols and that, but you'll know when you're really called to go and to work with them. But again, it's, they're going to stop at nothing to put you on your highest path, that which you came here to experience and to be. And so you came to be seen. You came to have your magic be spoken, heard, felt. And yeah, I love the dark goddess work. So that's like the lowdown of kind of 6 faces of feminine. Again, check her out. She has some really, really great videos, resources, but she can be really intense. So sometimes I have to take her in doses. So again, my soul knows when I'm ready to do work with her and when it's a little too much for me and I maybe need a gentler approach. But when you're ready to go that wild liberation kind of thing, she's definitely there.
Okay, this is fascinating to me. So our whole goal would be like finding a balance amongst all the feminine faces. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, these are archetypes in a way, right? Parts of the feminine that, have been maybe hidden or repressed. And, it's not that you have to have every single one of those. You don't have to be the medicine woman or the great mother, but know that you do have aspects of that in you, or people that have that you maybe can lean on and work with, or again, do that mirror work of the reflecting of what do I see in her that I want to embody that I don't, or maybe I do, and how can I build that into the work that I do a little bit more.
I love that. Okay, wow, that's eye-opening to me. There's just a lot.
There's lots of process there. So you might need to listen to this episode like a couple of times or on playback or pause it along the way, so.
Yep. I mean, I was taking notes as you were talking because I'm like, okay, a couple of these definitely resonate with me and I want to dig deeper into that archetype a little more. So awesome. Thank you for sharing this. This is fascinating. I'm all for educating people more on these topics that like really just aren't talked about enough. And I've done a lot of shadow work. When I first started working with my hypnotherapist, that was a big area and it was eye-opening. Like I'd never even heard that term before then. And so it was kind of like, oh, I didn't even know we had these shadow versions of ourselves. Like a lot of my work was around like the shadow of perfectionism and learning to really like face her and not hide her or fight her so much, but like accept that like this is a shadow of yourself. And I don't know, it was powerful work. So if you haven't done shadow work, if you don't even really know what that is, highly encourage you to look into that. It's powerful work. It's healing work. I think if you're open to doing the shadow work, if you're open to facing those parts of yourself, that can be some of the most powerful and some of the most rewarding work that you can do for yourself. I firmly believe that.
I absolutely agree with that. And also don't be overwhelmed by it and don't automatically go to thinking, oh gosh, well, I got to do all the things. Because when we get overwhelmed, then we don't take action. And so maybe just start with that one thing. Like Stephanie, I can relate with the perfectionist thing. So maybe it's like, you know what? I really can see and recognize that I've got this perfectionist thing going on in my life. Let me dive into the shadow aspect of that, because healing and growth all happens in layers and it takes time. And some people will be like, oh gosh, XYZ. And it's like, oh, but I didn't start this journey yesterday, honey. This has been, like a 10-year ride. So it's didn't happen overnight. And I definitely did not learn everything on day one or tackle everything on day one.
Absolutely. I completely agree. It's been a journey. Yes. Well, thank you for sharing this with my listeners. And if any of this resonates with you guys, please, again, reach out to myself, reach out to Hilary with any questions you might have or any takeaways, anything that just really hit home for you. If you thought of somebody that you're like, they really need to hear this, take a screenshot, share it on your social media, share it with a friend or a relative. The more people that we can get this podcast out to, the better. And until next time, I will see you guys next week for our last episode of the mini-series. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to us. It means so much to me. If there were any aha moments or anything that really resonated with you on today's episode, then please take a minute and share it on your social media and tag me so I can personally thank you. Also, if you could, please rate and review the podcast as it is new, and that really helps to get the word out there more and reach even more listeners. I'll catch you on the next episode.